Hey guys, Neomis here now for today's video. Season is over. Arsenal beat Brighton 2-0. I'm happy. I know a lot of you are happy that the season is over, but I gotta give my final thoughts on what I thought, not just about the Brighton game, but what I thought about Arsenal's season as a whole. Because I have been waiting for this video, and as you can see from how long it is, it's been coming. It's been coming. So before then we get to this, do remember to like the video, smash that, subscribe to the channel, and do check out some of my other Arsenal content as well. But before you go and click on the Arsenal content, do check out my thoughts on Arsenal season as a whole. Now, let's get started. Hello Arsenal fans, Neomis here, and welcome for the very last video for this season. To be honest, it's probably been coming or not coming based on, my regularity with uploading videos based on how this season has gone. I can speak for so many Arsenal fans to tell you this right now, that this is probably the worst season that I have seen Arsenal play in a very long time. Now, I mean, I've been an Arsenal fan from 10 years old. I'm 34, by the way. And so we're talking from 97. And this is the worst. This is the worst based on performance. This is the worst when you factor in that we have no Europe, no European football. And when you really think of it, you have to say that we are now mere mortals in comparison to other teams. We're not Spurs, they're all ahead of us. Even West Ham, you know what? Big congrats to West Ham for finishing in a European spot. I believe it's a Europa League spot that they've got. I've already decided West Ham, I will be taking a nice little interest in how they'll be doing in the Europa League. I hope that they do pretty well. Same thing with Leicester. I hope they do well too. It's an opportunity for one of those clubs to potentially win the Europa League trophy and maybe even win the Europa League, which, if the English sides do well in the Champions League next season, which I think that they will, I think they're going to come back bigger, better, stronger. I don't think that we're going to see the likes of Man United dropping out from the Champions League to the Europa League. I think those English sides are definitely going to make it past the group stage, meaning that we're probably going to have at least 2 English teams in the Europa League, which is going to be nice, because I have to say that, seeing the dominance of English teams over the year in Europe just isn't that great. But let's get back to Arsenal. Let's go back to Arsenal. So Arsenal's last game was against Brighton, and you know what? Played well. Nicola Pepe scoring a couple goals, looked like a very good player. Still not a £72 million player. I will say this right now. Still not a £72 million player. He does not look like. But he does look like a very good player. He looks like a £45 million player. Overall, for me, he looks like a good player that flirts with the idea of being very good. Whilst for me, if you pay £72 million, I want to see very good majority of the time with the ideas of flirting with world-class-ness. So, you know what? Great season from him. I believe he is our second highest goal scorer behind Lacazette. Finished 1 goal behind Lacazette overall. So well done to Nicola Pepe for that. When you think that he's been playing in a wide position and scoring that type of goals, I know he obviously comes in central for quite a lot of his goals. But overall, really good season from Nicola Pepe. Great work from Lacazette. He's played well. Obviously tailed off near the end and didn't get a lot of games. I know, because he had a bit of an injury, and Arteta just chose not to play him, to be really honest. And we will get into Arteta as well. But overall, good game from Arsenal against Brighton. Hopefully that's the Brighton hoodoo gone, and we could start putting teams like Brighton away, because it is unacceptable to be losing to Brighton. The same way how it's unacceptable to be losing to Burnley. For Arsenal, it just is, because we are the Arsenal, the mighty Arsenal, and we should not be losing to teams that I deem beneath us. And I know that sounds elitist, but we are Arsenal Football Club, and we are supposed to be an elite club. So getting beat by those teams is unacceptable. Now, Here is my grading for Arsenal overall in terms of performance this season. Now I have to say it's a poor performance. Poor. Like, whichever way that you try to swing it, and I've seen this. Oh, but the 23 games, our form was almost as good as Man City. No, fuck that. No. Season as a whole. Because you can't have 23 stellar games to where you're challenging for the league, and then 15 games where you look like relegation fodder. Because that's exactly what it is. And we finish somewhere in the middle. That's really what it is. We looked like relegation fodder in the first half of the season, and the second half we looked very good. Still was inconsistent, but very good. Still very good. But overall, poor season for Arsenal. And here are my reasons why we had a poor season. First of all, culprit number one. And it has to be the main reason, because everything stems from him in terms of what is on the pitch. I know I'm not going to say Stan Kroenke, but I got to put the feet right at Mikel Arteta. Now, Arteta, this was your first full season at Arsenal. You won an FA Cup last season. Yeah, you got, I don't think we made it past the last 32 last season in the Europa League, but you went on, you won an FA Cup, you finished 8th. So in terms of the league position, it's the same. I know when they're talking about points total, we got 5 more points than last season. Like, so fucking what? Like, at the end of the day, we finished 8th. Season versus season, every season is going to be a bit different. So in terms of points total compared to points total from last season, or compared to goals scored this season compared to goals scored last season, let's really look at what it is. Arsenal finished 8th. We were the 8th best side this season, and I've said this time and time again. Like I said in the beginning of when I started talking about the games this season, at the end of the season, the table don't lie. You know why? Because the table shows a marathon and not a sprint. And these 23 games that Arsenal fans and other journalists want to talk about, Charles Watts, yes, I'm talking to you, it means nothing. That's just a short-term sprint. That does not talk about Arsenal as a whole. That's not even talking about Arsenal 50% overall. Like, it's ridiculous. And overall, you have to say this comes down to Arteta. Has to. And here's why. I look at some of the things that Mikel Arteta was brought in. You saw the good work that he did last season, and you start to think, okay, there's something here. There's something really here. You start to think now he's going to incorporate some of the younger players. There were talks on how he was instrumental in terms of Raheem Sterling's development. You thought, great, maybe he could do some work with some of our young wingers. You thought, fine. You thought, great, he's a young player. Okay, he's learning on the job, but you know what? He comes from the Pep mold. So you're going to see a lot of innovation. You're going to see things that are going to be different. And we saw no different. We saw nothing different. We saw a stubborn man who almost acted like Wenger in a way. Stubborn, refused to change until it got so bad that he had to start playing some of the youngsters in Emile Smith-Rowe. But we saw a manager that basically threw away a lot of the youngsters, decided he didn't want them. William Saliba was here on loan, at Arsenal before he went out on loan. Never has yet to play a game for Arsenal in the first team, and not pre-season. He hasn't had an Arsenal debut yet. Balogun has had a debut before William Saliba, and William Saliba cost us millions. Millions. It says everything right then and there. Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Clearly Arteta is not a fan of him. Ainsley must have said something. I believe Ainsley is the man who said that Arteta has favourites. I agree, he does have favourites. But Maitland-Niles, the relationship there is gone. Done. And there's a common trend with our young players. Guendouzi, but Guendouzi is kind of rightfully, yeah, he should have apologized and kind of moved on. But Guendouzi got shipped off to Hertha Berlin. Had a good loan for the most part. Did have some behavioural issues there as well. But, you know, looks like Guendouzi's probably going to be going. I highly doubt Arteta's going to give Guendouzi another chance or kiss and make up. Don't see that happening. Then you've got Lucas Torreira. Refuses to play the guy, and I get it. You know, Arteta wants to play with a DM that's, you know, big, tall, has everything, but there is no reason why you could not use Lucas Torreira. Like, no reason why. No solid reason why you couldn't use Torreira at Arsenal, but decides to loan him out to Atletico Madrid. Fine. Decide to do that. Okay, let's talk about that. Then let's talk about the players that were at the club. So let's start with Eddie Nketiah. Eddie's there. Now, I get it. Eddie has had a lot of competition in front of him. Aubameyang and Lacazette. They are guys that, you know, you've gone and played a lot of money for. At the beginning of the season, more likely than any part of the season, these two guys were not performing. They weren't producing goals, assists. Just wasn't happening. Was Eddie getting opportunities? And I know people are going to say, oh, Eddie's had loads of opportunities. Really? How many times has Eddie Nketiah played 90 minutes for Arsenal? That's right, I'll wait. Because it ain't a lot. It ain't a lot. It is not a lot. Out of all of the youngsters I've just named, rarely any of them play 90 minutes under Mikel Arteta. Now let's talk about Reiss Nelson. Poor Reiss. On the sidelines. Must have only played about 2 or 3 games for Arsenal. And you would have thought Reiss Nelson was exactly the profile of player that Arsenal would go about and do this. You know what? Arteta would decide, I see what I did with Raheem Sterling. Let me see if I could do something there with Reiss Nelson. Get him going. Let's get his stock up. Let's give him a chance. Give him some games. But no, chose not to do that. In favour of a certain other Brazilian. Wine rhymes with billion. I'll let you guys finish with that. So, well done. Reiss Nelson there. Thrown away like he was just nothing. He treated him as like what the young people call today a waste man. I don't know. Does he view him as like a waste of a footballer? I don't know. I don't know. It makes no sense. I really feel for Reiss Nelson. Hardly had any type of games. And then we got to talk about the infamous one. The best one out of all of our young players to go out on loan. A player there who I have backed since Unai Emery really gave him a chance in Unai Emery's first season. And his name is Joseph goddamn breaking records, my guy Willock. He sends Joe Willock out on loan, and I'm there wondering why we need central midfield players. Why doesn't he give him chance? Joe Willock doesn't need games to go to another team. So we say fine. He sends him away. Just go. I don't need you. Sends him away. And Joe Willock has gone on to Newcastle, and Joe Willock has absolutely tore it up. Breaking records. Has equaled a Newcastle record to have scored 7 goals in 7 consecutive games for Newcastle. The Newcastle fans love him. They want him back. When Arsenal fans are talking about, yeah, we want 40 million for Joe Willock, Newcastle fans are saying, fine, we'll take that. You know why? Because Newcastle fans would pay 50 million for Joe Willock. Because Joe Willock single-handedly, not single-handedly, Joe Willock was a massive part. I'm going to give some respect to Callum Wilson and to Saint-Maximin, who were there, you know, balling out, doing what they do best. But Joe Willock helped drive them forward. Really drive them forward. And we gave Newcastle Joe Willock as though he was nothing. And now Mikel Arteta wants to then say Joe Willock has got a future at Arsenal, when he was there and refused to even have him on the bench. And guess who he tried to play instead? Dani Ceballos. Guess who he preferred to play instead? The likes of Willian. Completely unproven. Guess who he decided to play instead? Granit Xhaka, who, yes, has had some good games and had a great game yesterday against Brighton, but super inconsistent. There is no sense of accountability when players play badly for the senior players compared to the young players. And we've seen that time and time again. And a man that I left off the list, Gabriel Martinelli, has had good games as well, has scored. What, the game that we played before Brighton, scored. Martinelli, didn't see him until the 75th minute, late on in the game. Don't know what to say. But then we got a guy like Aubameyang, who, listen, I think Aubameyang is a great player, but he's not scoring. You put on your goal scores. Martinelli's there scoring goals. Why not play Martinelli up front? Now, I don't think Martinelli's a striker, but you think he does, Mikel Arteta. Play him up front instead of Aubameyang. Arteta has failed when it comes to managing a team. Arteta has continued to fail when it comes to looking at aspects of the Arsenal performance. This whole 70-minute substitute was another reason why I criticised Mikel Arteta overall this season, because it just hasn't been good enough. It's not good enough. And what happened in the first part of the season, I will never know. Like, only Arteta knows that. Like, what happened to the dressing room? Like, what really did? The only thing that I could think of is that what happened is that literally Ainsley Maitland-Niles was right. Mikel Arteta has taken favouritism, and which completely destabilised the squad. And you've got factions going on in the team which affected performance. And it got so bad that then he had to inject some young talent. And I'm not giving him credit for playing Smith Rowe, because everybody was saying for weeks to give Smith Rowe a chance. Why Smith Rowe wasn't even flirting around the Arsenal first team to begin with, I don't understand. It's just really frustrating. It really is when it comes to Arsenal, and particularly Mikel Arteta, because there were so many things that I was like, what are you doing? Playing a false nine in the Europa League semi-finals when we've never really played like that before. When you have strikers on the bench. Like, what are you doing? What, because Pep played with a false nine on the Wednesday? Like, what are you? You and Pepe are sharing strategies now? You're like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, Mikel, so you should do this with Arsenal. If he's giving him that advice, he basically set him up for failure. Like, it's crazy. But for me, those are like the biggest things that Mikel Arteta has done wrong, and why Arsenal have finished in the positions that they have. Now, I will give him credit in that I don't believe it's all his fault. I think that comes down to the personnel that he's had. I do believe that there are certain players that probably aren't playing for him, which is a shame. But for me, it needs an overall improvement. You know, the signings, the players, it's just a matter of consistency when it comes to Arsenal. Arsenal have to be consistent with it, and Mikel Arteta has to be consistent. Consistent in his actions is probably the biggest thing I challenge that he has. Because for me, I believe Mikel Arteta is playing a politics game with what's going on internally at the club. If you remember, Mikel Arteta came to Arsenal as a player, and when he came to Arsenal as a player, Mikel Arteta was one of the players that helped change the internal dynamics of the Arsenal squad. I mean, there are videos on this, on how You know, there were a faction of, you had the French players, you had the African players, you had the German players, the Spanish players, and then English players, and no one ever really was together. And Mikel Arteta came and changed that. He was acting like a captain. And I wouldn't be surprised as if Mikel Arteta has seen that. And because he's the coach, there's not much he can do around that. Especially when you have so much senior players in the squad who need to go. Now, I give him credit for getting rid of Ozil because he had to go. You got to get rid of Kolasinac, which he did. And I've just seen an article virtually about an hour ago that Kolasinac is set to leave this summer. He got rid of Mustafi, which was great. I like that. But he's got many more to do. He's got a lot of work. He's even come out and said that it's going to be unprecedented transfers out. That it probably needs a good clear out. And there's a lot of them that I feel that would go. But looking back at this season, we have to improve. But we have to maintain the consistency. And this is going to be kind of my final point based on this video. There's much more that I could talk about in terms of transfers, but I got to leave that for another video. But in terms of how Mikel Arteta needs to set this tide up next season, based on the players there that are at right now, is you got to probably have Chambers at right back. I think he's going to stick with that. Whether you like it or not, Chambers is going to be our right back. Rob Holding in defence. Because Rob ain't going anywhere. That's Mikel Arteta's captain. I think he's going to be reliant on him and he won't get rid of him. It's not going to happen, Arsenal fans. Next to him will be Gabriel. Gabriel, my man Gabriel. He's going to be there. Kieran Tierney in defence. In midfield, Thomas Partey will be in that midfield. Who's going to be playing next to Thomas Partey? Who knows? But I will tell you some of the options that should be playing with Thomas Partey in that midfield. Right now, in my opinion, I believe we only have one. Because the others we will either sell or they need to go. And that one option is Joe Willock right now. Now, starting up, but who will start in terms of the front three behind the striker? I'm going to go with Pepe on the left, Saka on the right, or vice versa. No, you know what? Pepe on the left, Saka on the right, Smith Rowe at the 10. And then up front, we need to sort out our striker because, to be honest, both of them, for me, aren't ideal. And I do believe that there's a good chance Lacazette could go. And Aubameyang, I'm not sure of. But there's some work that we have to do, not just in our starting 11, but the players behind them, the backup 11, the second 11. You know, just in case you've got injuries and suspensions, that's what Arsenal have to work on. And with the amount of games that we have in this next coming season, the fact that we have no European football, I mean, really and truly, Arsenal could play probably as little as about 40 games next season. 40 games. I've never seen a season so dull. But I'm an Arsenal fan, and I can't wait to see my team go and prosper and try to give a good shout in the Carabao Cup and FA Cup. And yeah, that's really it. So, good game from the boys. Not great in terms of overall positioning, but there are lots of positives. And that's the one thing that you got to take off. There are lots of positives from this. We got Saliba coming back. I'm sure he's going to have a chance at Arsenal. And if he doesn't, Arteta's an idiot. Joe Willock, fantastic loan. He's coming back at Arsenal. And if he doesn't play, Arteta's an idiot. And just generally, if Arteta doesn't get in the right signings and doesn't play who I say he should play, he's just an idiot. Take it at that. So, guys, thank you once again for watching the video. Yes, it's a long one. And I have to put out these long ones because, you know what, I just have so much to say with Arsenal and their performances on the pitch, their performance, Arteta's decision-making. It all just gets to me, and sometimes I just got to vent. And you know what? I think this was the right time in order to vent. So, I'd say, guys, thank you once again for watching this video. Please do leave your comments below on your thoughts on the season. I'm probably going to be doing some type of videos with our 101 coming soon in regards to kind of player ratings for the season and what that will look like. So stay tuned to that. But really and truly, for all the videos coming out in the summer, get ready, because it's going to be about transfers. Who Arteta needs to play, who we need to buy. I'm probably going to go and do some scouting myself and personally send them to Edu to say these is who you need to get. Because I think Edu needs as much help as he possibly can. Same thing with Arteta. So thank you once again for watching the video. Please do hit the thumbs up, smash the thumbs up, like and subscribe. And I will see you all next time. Peace.